In today's episode, we're going to cover topics controlling your emotions on and off the mat, and before and after competitions, and during practice also. So stay tuned.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 2 of Mad Parents. In this episode, we're going to be covering how to deal with your emotions in a match, after a competition, on and off the mat. It's something very important that we need to talk about because as we're raising kids, it's very important for us to teach them how to properly deal with emotions because you don't want someone who's always reacting to certain things.
No, exactly. You know, I think this is near and dear to Chupa's heart because he saw something at a competition that just stood out, and that's exactly why we're bringing up this topic. So, Chupa, tell us a little bit about what you saw.
So what happened that day, right? It was a competition, and as you may know, competitions are, very hectic, very stressful for everybody. And I understand that when you're a parent and you bring your kid to compete, it can be very stressful to yourself as well because you see your kid on the mat, and maybe someone is beating him a little bit, knee on belly or something like that, right? And a lot of the times, you can win all the time, and a lot of the times when the kids lose, they come out upset or crying for various reasons. They might feel like they just fell or they just lost the match and it's the worst thing in the world, or worst thing, disappoint their parents or coach, right? And it caught my attention because this kid, I was coaching Tomas's son, which is little Tomas, and I was coaching your daughter at that local tournament, and there was another parent there with their kid. The kid was doing amazing work. I was keeping my eyes open, just looking at different matches while the other kids were resting. And on this match, this particular kid lost. Um, I don't know what he lost to. I didn't see, but I saw that the kid lost, and he came out of the mat crying, right? He was crying uncontrollably, right? And he couldn't control himself, right? And it's normal for kids to feel very upset after losing, right? And I would highly suggest that at that moment, parents should give them a little time for them to, release that feeling that they have, so they can then talk about, what happened, or, you can talk about the match, or quitting or not quitting after they feeling like that. Because what caught my eye is that the kid was crying uncontrollably, and the parent is, grabbing him by the shoulders, saying, "Are you gonna quit on me right now? Are you gonna quit on me? Are you a quitter?" And I was like, "Oh my god," don't say that, to your kid. It just, I feel like you'll just make him feel worse. I think especially if you don't train jiu-jitsu, if you train really hard for a competition and you get to the point that you lost the match, you feel upset with yourself, because you feel like sometimes you can feel like you fail yourself, or what went wrong, or you can go, depending on the mental state that you're on at that moment. But for a kid, I think that, mostly for everybody, you got to give him a little break.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree because, I mean, it's a very sensitive time when a kid loses, or win. Of course, they're excited, but when they lose, you have to give them that space to decompress. You can't go and say, "Well, you could have done this, you could have done that." If anything, that's just you're just jabbing them more, you're hurting them more. They need that time to decompress, think about what happened, and process it themselves because it's a lot to go through as a kid.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I mean, this is why I think I love this podcast that that we're doing, is that, really it covers those kind of topics or those moments, like those kind of situations where you really do feel like, how can I, end of the day, I'm not trying to harm my kid. You know, like if you think about it, like I want to enroll my kids in martial arts or especially jiu-jitsu so I can teach them confidence, have them feel, you know, like better about themselves and know how to deal with those kind of situations. And me berating them after they're just lost, you're not good enough, you didn't do this and that. I don't think it really helps, you know. I think in my experience, like training jujitsu, I think I train jujitsu. Well, what has jujitsu given me is being able to be resilient, you know, or be confident. And I feel like you take that away when you're. It's like you kicking somebody when you're down. You know, obviously you're not kicking your kids. Hope you're not kicking your kids. Uh, so I mean that's why I think I love this topic because this is kind of what Mad Parents is also about, you know, talking about those in those difficult situations. When things are good, it's easy for everyone, but when it's hard, it's you know, how do you come off the mat or on the mat? That's how you, I think you really can become a champion. Not necessarily just with medals, but I think in your heart and in your mind.
Yeah, it's definitely very important to, learn how to control your emotions. That's what we're talking about this topic. So learn how to control your emotions as a parent and help your kid control their emotions by
Mm.
not putting more pressure on them after they feel a certain way after the match, regardless how it happened, right? When he's winning, like you mentioned, when everybody's winning, everybody's happy. Hey,
Mm.
congratulations. Hey, good job, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when someone loses and the kid is very upset, I think you just, I think that what I like to do, because my son has competed a couple times, I like to, when he comes out, give him some water, ask him how you feel. I'm feeling good.
Mm-hmm.
I let him be, and then we go after
Of
then we
course.
talk. I let him decompress, which I think is the most important part, right? Because you don't want to come out the mat when we competed before, and you come out the mat and someone is right over your head and like, man, you didn't sweep him. I'm like, man, it's not as
Yeah.
easy as it looks, right? So yeah,
I mean, I get, you know, and I love that we're talking about competitions and, but for me, I remind myself all the time, and I hear it in training, and I hear it from my coaches and my professors, is that jujitsu competition aspect is just a tool to really, you know, push yourself out of your comfort zone or push yourself to be better or, you know, get to the next level, you know, and I think as a parent, we really do have to understand that. Now that I'm a parent, I feel like I'm starting to understand even more. Because when you getting ready for competition, when you're in the zone, it's a bit different. You know, you have this kind of almost this tunnel vision. Go train, go do this. I need to win, win, win.
hmm
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you don't have or like idea in an ideal situation. I don't think you have those distractions. And but, however, end of the day, it is just a tool for them to become better. So I think as a parent, you have to understand that, you know, it's not end all be all if they lose the competition or if they win the competition. You know, obviously winning is, important. Uh,
Yeah.
it's a little bit more fun when you win, but
yeah,
dealing with losses, because if you think about it, jiu-jitsu competition, you go there, half the people lose in the first round.
yeah,
It's a hard,
Yeah.
you know. It's you're like, man, you're out.
You're done.
You know, it's not like a kid's soccer team. You know, you play for a whole 90 minutes, even if you're bad. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was one of those bad kids playing for 90 minutes.
Yeah, they do keep scoring. People lose immediately. I remember my kid was playing football at some point, and they say we don't keep score because the kids get upset. In jiu-jitsu, you have to win or lose, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you might get a tie or some
Mhm.
other situation, but you win or you lose. So I think it's very important for you know
Yeah. So what are some of the things that jujitsu has taught you that can help you kind of control your emotions? You know, when let's say you just lost, and you know, like how would you as a parent now help your child? What's one of the best ways? Or one of the ways. I'm not saying this is the best way, the right way, but you know, one of the ways that helped you. Let's say when you went down to Kids Parent of Jiu-Jitsu or any even local competition, because you.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing is you got to give them love. Whether they win or lose, especially when they lose, you got to go over there, give them that hug, let them know you love them, regardless if they win or lose. Because sometimes those kids are out there and they're out there to impress you, mom, uncle out there, brother out there, and they feel that pressure because, oh, my brother's going to say this, oh, my dad, my mom, and there's a whole lot of stuff going on. It's not just I lost the tournament, right?
Mhm.
So we have to consider that, and it's something I definitely recognize as having like 4 kids on the mat. I have 2 kids that compete like pretty competitively. My other 2, I haven't pushed them because they haven't asked. The day they ask me that they want to compete is the day I'll put them in a competition. I'm not running out there signing them up for everything because I know, are they emotionally ready for this? Are they physically ready for this? And it's something you have to ask yourself and be a bigger parent than, oh, my kid's beating everybody, right? And they're beating everyone and they're standing over them, cheering over them. Well, that's great that they're winning, but they're not there yet to go compete because that's not what we're trying to teach out there, right?
Right.
So, and I see it, not just in jiu-jitsu, but in wrestling. I mean, it's hardcore. I mean, it gets emotional out there, and there's some parents out there. I guess they wrestled when they were in high school. Now they're like 35-year-olds, like 300 pounds, and telling their kid just get up, go win, and once they lose, they're shaking them. They're like, "What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Why'd you do that?" But it shouldn't be like that for
Yeah.
your kid. And they say that majority of kids quit sports on the way home on that car ride
Yeah.
while you're asking them, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? You could have done this better. You're shrinking them,
Right.
right? We're not building them up.
Yeah, it makes them not want to do anything again, right?
Right.
They're like, I don't want to do that anymore.
Exactly. And I feel like they feel like that because you're putting more pressure on them. That's why after the match, like you say, give them a hug. As far as my kids, when they competed, I just give them, they come off the mat. I give them their water. I give them a hug, and I let them talk to me instead of me talk to them. I let them talk to me so they, if they're crying, I let them cry out, and hug them. I don't say anything. It's just, hug them out, and then, once the feelings de-escalate a little bit, then we can talk. And I don't even want to talk about the match because they lost, right? I don't want to talk about it because it's just gonna, I don't know, bring those feelings back up. Maybe next day or on Monday when we go back to training, hey, you probably made a mistake. Let's fix it. Let's talk to coach, professor. Hey, this is what happened. Can we fix this? And then we go from there, right? Rather than putting all that pressure on the ride back home. Right?
Yeah. We want our kids to excel and grow and get better. Our job's not out there to go be their critic. We're not out there. They're not making $1 million, and they're having fun on the mat, and we got to realize that. Maybe you want your kid to compete and be a pan champ and IBJJF, but you know what? At the end of the day, you send your kid there to get confidence, right? To learn a skill, to make friends. We have to keep that in mind because once we go down a rabbit hole, sometimes you get the blinders and all you think is like competition sometimes. But in the end of the day, it's not about that. It's about your kid having a good time, growing, having fun, and being, if you can, on the mat with your kid to grow with them and have an experience that is very unique. It's awesome.
I do recommend for every parent at least to try out how hard is jiu-jitsu. Like the kids doing the drills. Yeah, of course they got a lot of energy, but like having them go some bear cross for 2 minutes and doing some frog leap and then start spinning, man. Then some of those parents are gonna be gassed out in 10 seconds. You know what I'm saying? And then they'll go, all right, go run faster. Why are you slowing down?
Get up.
Yeah. Oh my
Just
God.
get up.
And you know how hard it is
yeah.
when somebody's smashing you from the side.
Yeah, it's I think it's very important for parents that want to coach their kids to train jiu-jitsu to be able to
I agree.
coach jiu-jitsu, right? You can't be yelling stuff outside if you don't train.
At least just 1 or 2 classes, just put on the gi, or if you're training a no gi squad, just do the class once,
Mm-hmm.
and
It'll give you a whole different perspective.
exactly.
Yeah.
And if you keep training, and I do know a lot of parents who started training because their kids were training, and then they got into it more, and the next thing you know, you're like, on the mat with the kids, and you're able to actually have a really that shared experience, and I love that. I was already training. I was like a brown belt when my kids were like starting to understand, not understand jujitsu, but they understood what jujitsu was.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, it's a martial art. They were like, yo, it's a kung fu movie. You know what I'm saying? Kung Fu Panda out there. But as soon as they kind of understood, like the respect, the humility, and the things that you learn on the mat just from seeing, I think that's what's cool. And I think for parents, if you have never tried it, I think you should go try it once, and I think that'll help you to gain that unique perspective what your child is going through, and I think we can understand and say, hey, you did this technique wrong, or you didn't grab this and that, but and that's why we're doing this podcast too, so we can understand even more beyond that. And I certainly hope that this podcast will be a resource for other parents who didn't have who had questions that weren't able to get it answered, when it comes to like what to do after competition, or how to talk to your kids, or what they're going through. And I loved some of your perspective that you talked about, and it's, my kids are not competing at that level maybe, or, they just training jiu-jitsu, so I don't really push them that hard. I want them to love it and see the fun in it. And when you said that, I was like, that's absolutely right. And that's kind of what I'm going for. But as soon as they perhaps say, hey, I do want to really compete and see other kids who are going that extra level, yeah, maybe there's times to push them, as a parent. But I think knowing that kind of different situations.
All right, guys. So we can conclude our second episode of My Parents. Please drop us a line at
Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, mattparentspodcast@gmail.com. Hope to hear from you. If you got any topics, drop us a line.
Stay tuned for more cool content.